This
you have done
conference
a
will now
detailed,
be recorded.
yeah. In the last 3 days, you have had a detailed discussion on derivatives. I assume that you've had a detailed discussion on derivatives. And now just I thought of shifting the gears to look at some other type of asset called equity. As you all know that there are different types of assets, you must already discussed about that. But today we are going to focus more on what is called as a equity as an asset class. Okay, fine. Let us try to make answer for some of the basic questions. I wanted your input on these things. For instance, we can start the very first question. Why people are investing? I hope everyone is tracking the stock market. Either you are investing personally or you are teaching, investment analysis course or derivative course, and you all track very closely the stock market. And you must be knowing that stock market is hitting every day new high. Yesterday it hit the lifetime high of 46,000 points BSE, and NSE also crossed 13,500. So therefore, we are getting every day some news about the stock market. But why generally people are investing their money? So that we will try to find out some answer for this question, and and then we try to find out the answer for the another elementary question: what is an investment? Generally most of the people think that investment means, generally I'm saying that investment means for them depositing the money in the bank FD. That's what comes to majority of the the Indian typical mindset of the investor. So depositing money in the bank FD is supposed to be the most safest thing, which is not true. You all know very well about that. And let us look at what is an investment. First question is why people are investing. Second question, let us look at that, what is an investment. And it is not restricted only to the bank FD, it goes beyond that one. And each investment asset class, or what we can call in a slightly technical language, the vehicle, investment vehicle, or asset class, whatever name you can call that, what are the characteristics of an investment? Let's try to find out answer for that question. And then in today's context in 2020, what are the investment avenues are available for us today? Because once upon a time, 1 decade ago, 2 decades ago, when you talk about the investment avenues, you can just count in one your hand. You have a couple of investment avenues. But today the world is much bigger, and we are getting all kinds of exotic instruments are available in the market for investment depending upon your risk appetite. Right? Let us look at that. And then this is the very most discussed and least understood topic. People often confuse the term the speculation with investment. So there are a lot of myths in the minds of the people, right? If you wanted to go to stock market, one person's gain is another person's loss. These are the myths. I just try to break all these myths shortly, right? Then let us look at that. What kind of approaches one can do towards investment making? That's a very interesting, and there are broadly two schools of thought. Let us talk about that. Two schools of thought in depth. At least one school of thought we can discuss in depth towards that approaches towards investment making. Right. So this is what broadly we try to find out answer for broadly these couple of questions. And if time permits, I will take you into some other market related aspects. So we can start with the very first question. You can make your attempt on this one. Why people are making an investment? It could be any investment. It could be a simple bank FD, or it could be an exotic derivative product, or it could be an exotic commodity product, whatever it may be. So why do people make investment?
Sir, it is to secure our future. To secure our future.
Okay, to secure our future. Okay, very good. Okay,
mainly
to
for
secure our
capital
future.
appreciation and to get regular dividend from the company.
Returns.
Okay, so you have two objectives. You wanted a capital appreciation, and you also want a dividend from the company. So that's only, you're talking about only one part of equity. I'm asking you a much bigger question. What you said is correct, Dr. Srinivas. That's about capital appreciation and dividend. It's a very good answer. But that's only from one asset class, right? Namely equity. But people are not investing only on equity, right? People are investing in multiple asset classes, right? So why do people invest? I got one answer which says that to secure our future. Okay, something in the similar kind of lines, or some other thoughts in those lines.
Sir, to make better use of extra funds that we have, whatever savings we have, we want to make better use of them.
To make better use of the extra funds. Very good answer. Okay, to make better use of the extra funds.
Utilized wisely. Idle investment, idle money utilized wisely.
Okay, idle money utilized wisely. Okay. The money is lying simply in the bank SB account, which fetch me 3% interest. So I wanted to utilize that money in a better manner. Okay, very good answer. Okay, very good. Yeah. Then go ahead.
Sir, to face the contingency.
Okay, yeah, good answer. Yeah, in case if some contingency is happening, we call that in investment science literature. Most of you know that emergency fund. We call that as a emergency fund. I hope you all know the basic fundas begin emergency funds. You should inculcate this knowledge to your students also. So generally, anybody and everybody, before you chalk out your investment plan, I repeat, anybody and everybody, before before the particular person chalk out his investment plan, whether you may be investing in equity or derivative or whatever the product, mutual fund, where we are going to invest, you need to create an emergency fund, or if I borrow the word used by one of our participants, called contingency fund. What is that emergency fund or contingency fund? It should be, you should have an adequate fund of at least next 6 months expenses to be kept aside as an emergency fund, which you should never ever touch. That's called as an emergency fund or contingency fund. I mean, generally this opinion varies. Some people say that 3 months of your monthly expenses. Some people say that 6 months of your monthly expenses. But I would like to go very conservative. At least 6 months of your monthly expenses, whatever is the cash outflow, assuming that you're not going to receive any salary, assuming that you're not going to get any income from any of the sources. How do you manage? So what's your monthly expenses into 6 times? That should be kept in a separate fund called contingency fund or emergency fund. That's point number 1. And point number 2, you should have adequate amount of insurance, both life and health. Once when you fulfill these 2 conditions, then only anybody should think of going for investment. Otherwise, you forget about going for investment. These are the basic essential aspects, right? That's what, since one of the participants used the word contingent, I thought of telling you this point. These are the very basic essential. Because, you know, the moment when you know that you are teaching an investment science course to the students, in your college, many of your relatives will come and ask, I wanted to invest money in stock market. You tell me some good stocks to me, right? Often you could encounter such kind of scenario when you go for a wedding party or when you go for some party. Some of our friends and relatives tell me, man, what is the latest stock that I should buy? Right? I wanted to make my money double, triple dollar. I wanted, tell me, recommend me some multi-bagger stock. Like, these are the kind of questions. But hereafter, if anyone asks such kind of question, you reply back to him very nicely, saying that, first of all, you need to create a contingency fund. So the contingency fund should be equal to 6 times of your monthly expenditure. Then you should also have adequate amount of insurance, both life as well as on health. Once you only have these 2 things are tick mark, then you should think of going for investment. Okay, fine. Yeah. So so now any other answers? Any other answers would like to contribute? All the answers are correct. All the answers are correct, right? So if we look at that, why people are investing, most of your answers are correct, because by saving money instead of spending it, that's very important point. By saving money instead of spending it, people wanted to trade off between the present consumption and large future consumption. So either I can spend that 1 rupee today, or I can wait for a couple of years and make that 1 rupee into 3 rupee and have a better future consumption. So that's what is the reason most of the people are investing, right? People are anticipating for a future consumption, so they sacrifice today's context, right? Okay, so that's broadly most of the answers. Whatever we said, everything will fit very well within the explanation what I wrote on the slide, right? Okay. Now the next question to you all: what is an investment? What is an investment?
Sir, the saving that the money that I have saved and putting in a tool to fulfill my financial goal is an investment.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So you have some surplus money and you are investing in a particular asset class. You have some investment goal. Okay, you told many points. You told. Okay, very good answer. Okay. So how about others?
Sir, it is like I forego my present consumption to for a better
that's the reason why you invest. Yeah, that's the right answer. That's the reason why you are investing. But the next question is, what is investment? Because I sacrifice my current consumption for the large future consumption. I agree with you. But what is investment? The question is slightly changed.
Sir, investment is different from saving. Saving
yeah, obviously,
is where money value will be it won't increase. But whereas when you invest, there is a money which is given from us. So that money will be utilized by another party, like it could be in finance market or it could be a bank. They give us the return. So there, when time value of money will be reducing, if we just save, it is not going to make up that loss. But when we invest, the time value of money will be reducing, and we can make good that by the returns that we get. So our money value is decreasing at one point of time, and when we get the returns, it is going to fulfill that reduction in time value. So that is where
so you are talking about your investing in asset class. Yeah, you are talking about investing in asset class, which gives you some rate of return, so that the time value of money increases. Okay, fine. See, defining investment is slightly tricky. Yeah. Yes.
To combat inflation, investment is
To
possible.
cover inflation. Okay, to cover inflation. Okay, very good. Yeah, you wanted to. Okay, fine. I will tell you what is generally an investment. If you look at the investments literature, say for instance, you commit a particular amount for a current period of time. So you wanted a future return. That's what our madam is talking about, the future value. I'm giving my money to somebody, and that somebody is using the money effectively. I'm getting some return. So you are making some sacrifice. You are making some sacrifice, right? Instead of consuming that money today, you wanted to sacrifice your current consumption, but you anticipate something for that. What are you anticipating for that? You commit that money for a particular period of time. Okay, next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 month. What is my investment horizon? My investment horizon could be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Right? The time the funds are committed, and you wanted to cover the inflation, the expected rate of inflation. As already one of the participants talked about that, being a finance professional, you all know very well the term inflation. And is there any connect between inflation and interest, by the way? Is there any connect between inflation and the interest? Is there a linkage between investment and inflation?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So only 2 participants are speaking. I could see around 41 participants are there. I could see
Sir,
only Shalini and Dr. Srinivasan are speaking. Let us give chance for others.
Net present value is very important. Net present value.
Okay.
Expected cash flows, sir.
Okay.
And
okay,
because
agree.
net present value is very important. A rupee of today will not be of tomorrow. That concept is very good.
As the inflation rate goes up, the interest rates are also expected to go up, and vice versa also follows. So interest rate.
Yeah. Yes, Syed, go ahead. Yeah.
So interest rate, they follow the path that is being defined by the inflation rate.
Okay, very good. There's a strong connect is that between inflation and interest. That's why I wanted to talk about that. Anyway, so and you see, if you look at the future is always uncertain. We also wanted to know about we wanted a compensation basically. Basically, what is investment means? You wanted to invest in any kind of an asset class. It could be anything, bank, FD, or wherever you wanted to park your money. You wanted to park our money, but you wanted to commit that money for a definite period of time: 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And we wanted some kind of a return to cover our inflation, and the future of the flow of the funds is always uncertain. So as you must have already learned in your previous sessions, that the uncertainty, what we call colloquially, we call uncertainty as a colloquial term. The term uncertainty is what we call colloquially is loosely defined as risk in the investment science literature, as many of you may know already, that uncertainty is nothing but what we call here as a risk associated with the future flow of funds or the future flow of the cash. Okay, fine. So that's what we are looking for. That when I say an investment, you wanted to invest in a particular asset class and you're looking for some returns, and the return should have the following characters, following expectations, right? It should cover our inflation, and there is some element of risk is associated with that. Okay, fine. So now let us move on to the next interesting area. The same question, but I'm asking a different way. What are the characteristics of investment? This is slightly different. So we know why people. We first asked the very first question, why people are investing. Then we asked the question, what is investment? And now we are looking at that. What are the characteristics of an investment? What are the characteristics of investment? Probably just you can make a guess. I strongly urge other participants to make contribution. I saw only so far only 4 people are contributing. Shalini, Dr. Srinivasan. I'm looking for some new people to talk.
Yeah. Sir, the first character, there are many characteristics. One should be, firstly, it should be match my risk profile. It should be tax saving. It should be have liquidity. And it should be that I have covered. It should be matched with my risk profile. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so that's a very interesting point. What my friend Vikram just said that about the risk profile. Most of you know this term. We often call this as the risk appetite, because the risk appetite is not same for you or same for me. The risk appetite vary from person to person. So basically, risk appetite we can measure. I mean, there are a lot of interesting tools are available in the developed countries. Of course, in India also we have some tools to measure the risk appetite of the individual. So you can ask, there's an instrument is available through which you can ask questions and you can elicit responses based upon the scores. You can find out what is the risk appetite of a person. So risk appetite or risk profile is basically how much I'm willing to lose. That's what the question basically we are trying to elicit, because you cannot ask anybody, okay, someone is approaching you, sir, where can I invest my money, sir? I have some 10 lakh surplus with me. You cannot ask him first question, okay, how much are you willing to lose? If you ask that question, that person will simply run away. What is this? I'm asking this professor, where should I invest this money to get some return? But this fellow is asking me how much you are willing to sacrifice, right? So we cannot ask, this is like, most of your associate scientists, you know that if you knock at the door of some unknown stranger's home and ask him how much is your income, he will kick us out, right? He will kick us out and saying that what nonsense, there is no need to tell you all these things to get lost, right? That's what he say, that when you knock at the door of a stranger's home and ask his income. But we maybe, as a social science researcher, we need that income of persons, right? We can't directly ask what's your income, rather we ask all kinds of other indirect questions, right? We ask, where are you working? How much do you spend money? Where are you? What are the headings under which you spend your money? How much you spend on provision? How much you spend on petrol? How much you spend on your entertainment? Like that, we ask different questions. By asking what are the expenses and asking what are the savings that he is making, we can find out what is the income of a person. Rather, if you go and ask him directly, what's your income, he say, get lost, right? You all agree with me. So in the same way, if you ask, if someone is approaching you as an expert in investment science and asking, I have some surplus cash, I wanted to park that money. If you ask him directly, okay, sir, I make a very pakka nice plan, I will make it for you according to your risk appetite, and you tell me how much are you willing to lose out. That fellow will simply run away from you, right? Oh my God, I reached the wrong person, right? Okay, so therefore, the same theory holds true across the world, whether you're in India or in the US, doesn't matter. So therefore, what are some of the the experts in our area in the earlier period, they developed a questionnaire, what we call as a questionnaire, or what we call as a tool, that basically consisting of various questions, right? You administer that tool to that particular investor and elicit response from that, based upon which you can arrive at a score. So basically, that will tell you what is the risk appetite of a person. That risk appetite, or what my friend Vikram just said, that risk profile, and that's a very important point. The risk profile will vary from person to person, and based upon the past research, we can come out with certain common kind of conclusions. We can say that generally, this is a general rule. Generally, people who are retired, people who are older, they tend to take less risk. It looks fair, right? Why? Because people who are already retired, which means they don't have any fixed income every month or every week, they don't have any fixed income. So they generally tend to don't take any kind of risk. So they would like to invest in such kind of instrument where they are getting certain fixed, guaranteed, assured kind of income. Whereas if you look at the another set of profile of the risk profile of the participants who are young, just entered into the job market, just entered into the job, so these people have a generally higher risk appetite. They say they don't mind. They wanted a higher return. They don't care about the dividend, how much I'm going to get from a company. As some of the participants already mentioned this point. I don't care how much dividend I will get. I only care about, I invest 1 lakh in this company this year, how much this number will grow in 3 years time. So they wanted multi-bagger returns, multiple returns, right? So that risk profile, what my friend Vikram Singh brought, is a very interesting aspect. So one can even look at that risk appetite or risk profile as a topic for research. That is one of the under research topic as far as the Indian context is concerned. Okay, so now we'll come back to our major queries. What are the investment characteristics? As already Vikram mentioned, that the first and foremost point, what everybody is looking, whether you or me, including you and me, we look at what is the return. So you recommend me to invest in a particular stock. Okay, I'm going to invest in that particular stock. Or you recommend me to get into a contract with an oil for a commodity derivative. You wanted me to get into a future option or forward option. So I'm entering into a contract on a commodity market, or I'm entering into a contract with a gold market, or I'm entering into interest rate future swaps, or I'm entering into any kind of an exotic contract. I'm entering over there. The first question in my mind is, okay, what is going to be my return? The first question is, what is going to be my return? And of course, obviously, the question of return is associated with the second interesting point, what we spent a couple of minutes ago. What is the risk associated with that instrument? It's not about the risk that I am willing to take. The risk that I am willing to take is different. That's what we discussed some time ago. Risk profile, risk appetite. There are different names in the literature. Some of you already know that we call it as a risk profile. We call it as a risk appetite. We call that as even a risk tolerance. All these names are same, almost same. Okay, so that is different. Here, what we are asking, when you're investing in any kind of instrument, the first question what people are looking at is about what is the return I'm getting. Obviously, the second follow-up question is, what is the risk associated with that investment? For instance, investing in a oil, in a commodity market, in the oil future is not like the same like investing in the stock market. It is not like the same like investing in the Government of India bonds, or not like the same like the investing in the RBI bonds. Okay. So therefore, the risk is what we meant over here. Broadly, we can define that. We can define risk little later stage in a different manner. We can define that. The third and most important point is liquidity. So this is a very interesting characteristics which most of you know that here liquidity means how quick I can convert that asset into cash. That's what it meant by liquidity. So already most of you must be familiar with the stock market. I'm saying talking about the equity market. In the equity market, we often use some terms. The market depth for that particular stock is very high. We often use such kind of language. The market depth for that so-and-so stock is very high. So what is the market depth? Often we use this word, market depth. Any idea what is that market depth? Yes, Richa? What is market depth? It's a very common term, right? You could see in the newspaper also every day. You could see, right? Newspapers say that so and so stock depth is very high. I think they talk about that. What is that market depth?
Market efficiency, sir. Frontier.
Not efficiency. Yeah, in the context of liquidity. In the context of liquidity.
Liquidity.
Sir, probably it is the number of investors that are there in a particular stock.
Okay.
That how many people.
Coming close to the answer, Syed, you are coming close to the answer. The volume and the value of stock traded. The volume and the value of the stock. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we often call that as a liquidity. Which means in today, how many shares are being bought and sold? That's what you are looking at.
It means supply and demand, sir. Supply and demand.
Supply and demand, convert that into a transaction. Supply and demand should be converted into a transaction. That's what you're looking at. Supply and demand, everyone can express interest. Okay, I wanted to buy 1,000 Reliance Industries shares today. If it is available to me at 1,500. So morning at 9 o'clock, I log into my Demat account and enter order, okay, buy 1,000 shares at the rate of Reliance Industries, buy 1,000 shares at the rate of 1,900. I know that definitely it's not going to hit 1,900 today. So I put my order. It's only I express my interest. But I wanted, when we talk about the liquidity, we wanted to look at more on the volume and value traded. We wanted to look at the volume and the value traded. So when I say, okay, I'll give you a better example because Richa mentioned something related to the demand and supply. I hope you all familiar with the NSE website. If you visit NSE website, okay, just I will show it to you. Okay, when I wanted to show that, it says that leave the meeting. Okay, can you just open nseindia.com? Any of you can open nsindia.com, and when you open the nsindia.com and the search box, you can go and type Reliance Industries. Now, because today market is open, if you look at the Reliance Industries, if you open nsindia.com, just spend 1 minute extra on this one, so that you get a better understanding, which you can translate into your students also. Go to nsindia.com. On top, you have the option called search. Over there, you type Reliance. So Reliance Industries Limited. Very fastly, you click on that.
சரி பரவாயில்ல நான் என்ன சொன்னேன்னா அந்த பிரசன்டேஷன் அவர் பண்றதும் பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் இருக்கிற ஸ்கிரீன்ஷாட்ஸ் இருக்கும்ல ஓகே அத வேணா நான் ஷேர் பண்றேன்.
Okay, are you able to do that one?
நான் சொன்ன ரெக்கார்டிங் வந்து நம்ம யூடியூப்ல போடலாம்னு இருக்கோம் சார். சோ அது வந்து கண்டிப்பா ஷேர் பண்ணனும் அப்படினா மத்த டெஸ்டோட ரெக்கார்டிங்ஸ் கிடைக்குமா?
Samiraj,
யூடியூப்ல தான் போடுறோம். இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் எல்லா ரெக்கார்டிங்.
Yeah, Samiraj, please mute yourself. Okay. Okay. If you could open your nsindia.com website and type on a particular company, any company. I wanted to show you, a company which is highly traded. Reliance Industries Limited. When you type that, you can see some screenshot. You can see on the left hand side something called market depth. Are you able to see that one? Market depth order book. Are you able to see? You go to nseindia.com. In the home page, there is option for search. In the search, you type Reliance. There are many Reliance will come. You click on the first Reliance. It's called Reliance Industries Limited. It's called Reliance Industries Limited. If you click over there, I try to do in my machine, but it says that the moment when I put that, it says leave the meeting. Okay, let me see. nseindia.com. Are you able to see the screen by any chance?
Yes, sir, we are able to see the screen.
Oh, great. Okay, that's fine. Great. Okay, fine. Yeah. Just I'm opening the Reliance Industries market page. Are you able to see this? What I'm showing here? This is one word is here called market depth. Just I try to highlight that one. Are you able to see that one? Market depth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is what I meant by that. Here, what is liquidity? You know, this is what I mean. This is what is liquidity. Look at here. See the difference between the buy. See, somebody wanted to buy. Look at here. This is called electronic order book. This is called electronic order book. This is we are seeing live. The 1 minute delay may be there. It may not be exactly 100% live. 1 minute delay may be there. If you look at here, right now there is a total demand. I repeat, right now there is a total demand for Reliance Industries 4,61,153 shares in different rates. Okay, and the supply is 7,65,220. Okay, out of the total demand and supply, we can see the first 5 best order. I repeat, we can see the first 5 best buy order and the first 5 best sell order. What do you mean by buy order, sell order? If you look at on the left hand side, quantity, bid. On the right hand side, you could see ask price, bid price, ask price, quantity. Which means these first 2 columns, the first 2 columns are called as the buy column. The second 2 columns are called as a sell column. So basically, you could see the demand and supply. You can see at one snapshot. You can see over here. Okay, and if you could see here, somebody wanted to buy 4,826 shares at the rate of 2004.2, 2004.10, and somebody wanted to sell. What was the forget about the quantity? Somebody wanted to sell some shares at the rate of 2004.20. You see the price difference. You see the price difference between buy price and bid price and ask price, or buy price and sell price. I wanted to buy some X amount of shares at the rate of 2004.10. Somebody wanted to sell at the rate of 2004.2. See the price gap. The price gap is just 20 paisa. The price gap is 20 paisa. Such kind of a very narrow gap, very narrow small gap between the bid price and ask price. Those stocks are generally called. Those stocks are generally called as the most liquid stocks. Those stocks are called as the most liquid stocks because the volume is also more. Because the volume is also more, you can also see various information over here. On the right hand side, you see on the same page traded volume. The market opened only by 9:15. You could see what is the volume of stock traded. 23,73,000 stocks are being traded, and this is the total value. Other items are not important for us. Only this number. So this is what I meant by the market breadth, market depth. So you can see here market depth. These are the actual volumes of trades which are taking place in the market. Okay. Okay, so basically you need to look at the difference between the bid ask spread. If the bid ask spread is very small, then that's the most liquid stock. Okay, I will show you some other stock right now. The same funda. Let's look at another interesting stock called MRF Limited. I hope you all know about this particular company called MRF Limited.
Yes, sir. 77,000 it is. Cost.
Yeah. One stock price is 77,863. Are you able to see here? One stock price is 77,863. That is the value of the stock. The face value is how much is the face value? It is given somewhere. Face value is 100 rupees, I think. Okay. Anyway, so now look at here. Now look at the market depth. So some around 2,700 people wanted to buy. Look at the number. 2,700 people wanted to buy, and 3,091 people wanted to sell. Okay. Now let's look at the price bid ask spread. Somebody wanted to buy at 77,862. Whereas somebody wanted to sell at the rate of 77,890. See the price gap. The price gap is too much. The price gap is very much. And again, you look at the traded volume today. Today, from 9:15 till whatever time and the clock, it's only 5,300 shares are being bought and sold today. Only the total volume of trade is only 5,300. Are you getting the point? Of course, one can argue, sir, the value is very high. I agree with you. But the bid-ask spread is also very high. The bid-ask spread is also very high, and the volume of trade is also less. So these kind of stocks, I repeat, these kinds of stocks will be a very good stock, but these kind of stocks are the least liquid stocks. I repeat, these kind of stocks are called as the least liquid stocks. Why they are least liquid stocks? Because the volume of trade or the market depth is very less. Of course, obvious reasons, various reasons, right? Some of you may know that in the BSE, we are having around 4,700 shares are listed in the market. In the Bombay Stock Exchange, we have 4,700 shares are listed in the market, out of which the actively traded stock, I repeat, the actively traded stocks are only just 700. I repeat, only 700 shares are being actively traded on daily basis. Are you getting my point? So therefore, though we will be having around 4,000, okay, how do you get all this information? How do I get all this? Okay, is it clear for you? Any queries on this market depth? Do you have any query on this market depth, the bid-ask spread? Is it clear for every one of you?
Can you please repeat how we can check that whether this particular stock is liquid or not? You just spoke about it.
Very simple, madam. Whether the particular stock is most liquid, see, we want to ask only one question: whether the stock is most liquid or least liquid. Most liquid means the bid-ask spread, which means the buy price and sell price, the gap should be 5 paisa, 10 paisa. The gap, see here, somebody wanted to sell at 77. This is the buy. Somebody wanted to buy at 77,862.6, and somebody wanted to sell at 77,880. The gap is very big, very wide. Whereas some time ago, I had shown you that Reliance Industries, I had shown you in Reliance Industries, the price difference between the buy price and sell price is, of course, now it is changed. Now the buy price and sell price is only 60 paisa difference. It will keep on changing. This number will keep on changing. 10 paisa, 20 paisa, the bid-ask spread, that's what we call that. The price difference between buy price and sell price is low. Point number one. Point number two, you want to see the total volume traded. So 24,70,000. Whereas in the MRF, just we saw that we could see hardly 5,000 shares. In MRF, we saw that the number of shares which were traded in the market are around 5,300 shares. Whereas in Reliance, we saw that the number of the volume of trade, the value may be more, the volume of trade in Reliance is much higher. The volume of trade in Reliance is much higher, right? We just now we saw that around 25 lakhs shares were traded from morning 9:15 to till this whatever time we are seeing the screen. Are you getting my point? So therefore, the liquidity is determined how actively your stock is traded. How actively your stock is traded, not on the desire. The desire is what is shown in the market. The desire is what is shown in the market. We can see the full market depth. What is the total demand? What is the total supply? Out of which we can see the first best 5 orders. You can count 5 orders: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the buy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the sell. You can see that. Okay. Now I told you that in BSE we are having number of stocks listed, or we can see this number will keep on changing every day. So, BSE India. Yeah. So if you go there, I will show you. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Look
sir.
at the third line. Number changed today. Sorry, I thought 4,700. Yeah. So 4,700 is the number of companies with listed equity capital. Total number of companies who are got permitted to trade in the equity market are 4,722. Out of which around 810 companies were suspended. I mean, there are many reasons for suspension. Let us not get into that. But the number of listed companies right now available for us to trade is 3,913 companies. If today you and me wanted to buy any particular company shares in the BSE, we can. There are around 4,000 shares are available for us. But though the number of shares listed in the stock market is 4,700, only roughly 4,000 shares are available in the market. Available in the market, I repeat, available. Out of these 4,000 stocks which are available in the market, actively traded, I repeat, actively traded stocks are around only 700 stocks. Actively traded stocks are only around 700 stocks. Are you getting the point? So therefore, that's a very important point. That actively trading and what is the what we are talking about? What is the liquidity meant? That's what I meant by that. Liquidity means how fast I can convert my stock into cash. So for that, you can't go directly observe it, right? We can go and observe what is the market depth. We can go and observe what is the market the volume trade. Are you with me? Is it clear for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we proceed further? Yeah. Are you able to see the screen, the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Any queries, please ask on the liquidity aspect.
Only
Do we
one
proceed
query.
further? Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Sir, for liquidity, we can find out this for the stocks only. For example, for the other asset class, if you want to find out the
Like what? Other asset class means like what? Because
Yeah,
each asset
like
class is not same.
yes, sir. Real estate, if we find out, if we want to find out the liquidity of the real estate, then how should we go?
Okay, very good question.
Yeah.
Okay. For real estate, there is no such concept called liquidity.
Okay.
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 Why
Okay,
there is
sir.
no such concept called liquidity? Because we can see liquidity. It's a good question. We can see liquidity only if that particular asset is listed in some regulated market. Some regulated market, that asset should be.
Okay.
Then only we can find out. Otherwise, it's very difficult to. There is no authentic info. There is no authentic info. But people say that, okay, if you are living in Chennai, okay, in T Nagar area, the assets or the real estate is very liquid. If you have any, in the T Nagar region, if you have any flat or any commercial complex, it can be sold out very fast. How much is very fast? Nobody knows. How much is very fast? It could be sold overnight, or it could be sold 1 week, 1 month, or even 1 year also it may take. Because as you know that these kind of assets are slightly difficult to convert that into cash, and there is no regulated market. And this real estate asset as asset class, it comes with various various other add-ons to that. Is it residential or commercial? If it is residential, which direction your house is facing? There are so many other add-on elements are towards that. But only one point, which is a proven point, which I can tell you, as far as the real estate investment is concerned, there is only one rule, or we can say 3 rules: location, location, location. That's all.
Okay. Exactly.
There's only one rule. We say 3 times: location, 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 which means the location where which your property is being held. That is the only matters. So that talks about the liquidity of your asset. Okay, that's a broadly.
Okay.
That's only broadly, right? Again, it comes various other sub classifications are coming, right? Okay, is it residential or commercial? And if it is residential, you may know there is a one more field people look at that what is called as Vastu. Okay, I don't believe of all those stuff, but people look at all these things, right? People also talk about in which direction your entrance of your house is faced, north, east. Generally, people prefer to go for north-faced houses or north-faced properties, right? Anyway, so that's a lot of other things which are adding on over. But whereas in Reliance or MRF, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. It's a stock. This is what is the total value. This is how the company is performing. This is what is the rate that is available, whether you can buy it or not. So many people are buying, so liquidity is that or not. That's it. Are you getting my point?
Can we find it for the bond and debentures liquidity? It can be found.
Course,
I think
yes.
it can be found.
As long as you can find out the liquidity for any asset class, as long as, I repeat, as long as it is listed in a reasonably regulated market. I repeat, it is listed in a reasonably regulated. Why I'm not saying that well regulated? Because the term well regulated is very ambiguous, right? No market is very well regulated, right? When the markets are well regulated, nobody can beat the market, okay, and nobody can make any scams in the market. So that's why I use a word called. So if you can find out the liquidity of any asset if it is listed in any reasonably regulated market. It could be a bond market or it could be a commodity market, whatever the market is meant for that. If it is regulated, if it is listed over there, we can find out that liquidity. Otherwise, there is no authentic information. We have to go hearsay. Okay, people say that T Nagar area in Chennai is very hot cake. If you have a property in T Nagar, you can sell it out very fast, or very demanding. That location getting a piece of a commercial complex or a piece of residential property is a very difficult task. So that's only hearsay. There is no authentic information. There is no authentic information. Only based upon the hearsay only we are going. Okay, fine. So now let us move on to the next characteristics, the tax shelter. So basically, tax shelter means anybody and everybody before investing, they generally look at that asset. Do I have any tax shelter or tax rebate or tax advantage is there for me if I park my money in this particular asset class? It could be a bond or it could be whatever the asset class. I hope some of you must be reading off late in the newspaper that there are many municipal corporations are coming out to the market with a new type of an asset class called, not new type, it is already there, called municipal bonds, or what we call it's a very popular kind of instrument in developed markets like Western market, US market. It will be municipal bonds, municipal corporations, right? It's very colloquially called among the press people and among the people in the investment market. They call munis, M-U-N-I-S, because it's a municipal corporation bonds, municipal bonds. So it's a very fondly called munis, M-U-N-I-S. Any of you read about that? Any of you read about that municipal bonds or munis? The off late there is a lot of talk in the newspaper about that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is the news about the munis? With reference to tax shelter, why we talk about that munis over here? Because municipal bonds, if you are investing, any interest income that you are receiving from that munis are tax exempted. You are getting any interest income from the munis bonds, any income that you are receiving in the form of interest income, you are getting a tax rebate or the interest is exempted from tax. Okay, fine. Anyway, of course, this is a very common phenomena. So convenience, right? Whatever the asset that you are going to choose, we look at that how convenient it is, that right? Earlier, some of you may know that 15 years ago, when you wanted to buy a share, you go to pick up your telephone and call the broker over phone. Okay, what is the stock market today, and how much is the price of this Reliance Industries? What is the market depth? Like that, we ask all kinds of questions to the broker and place order over phone. Of course, today also you can do that, but today, thanks to all the technology, there is if I invest in that particular asset, is it available to me in DMAT form, or is it available only in the physical form? We look at the convenience of the transaction. Okay, are you getting me this point? Okay. Okay, this is something very interesting. So in today's context, what are the investment avenues available to us today?
There are equity, real estate.
Okay,
debentures,
the first one comes to our mind is equity market. Okay, very good. Equity. Then
debentures, mutual funds.
Debentures or bonds. Debentures or bonds, both are same. Okay, very good. Okay, equity, debentures or bonds, government bonds,
Bank,
bond, right?
bank,
Okay.
Bank deposits, post office deposits, gold.
FD, yeah. That's a very first time I normally get. Normally, when I ask this question, the very first time, yeah. Normally, when I ask this question, the first time I get is fixed deposits, or what we colloquially call FD. Okay, very good. Okay, then.
Post office savings schemes, sir, like NFP.
Hey, you're going to doing a course on derivative, right? Yes. Which one, madam?
Sir, currency.
What?
Currency and commodities.
Currency derivative. Yeah, very good. Currency derivative, interest rate derivatives, right? You are doing a course on derivative. Yes, you should tell me different types of things. Okay. If you look at here today, I mean, this is only a broad classification which I made over here. Only some of you mentioned this one point, equity shares. Okay. Then you have something called money market instruments. But generally, retail investors, like people like you and me, generally we don't go to money market instrument. Why we don't go to money market instruments? Is it banned for people like you and me? Why we generally don't go to money market instruments? Why? Any idea?
It's the short-term regulated by RBI.
Sir, minimum investment is very high.
Because these are overnight investments.
Yeah, all your answers are correct. Yeah, why you are hesitating? Yeah, all answers are correct. Right. So generally, retail investors don't go. Yeah, generally retail investors don't go to. So generally retail investors don't go to money market. What happens on me? Echo is happening. Okay. Are you getting my voice?
Echo.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you control that echo?
Yes, sir, echo is there.
Sir, are you using? Are you sharing with also like mobile phone also, sir? Are you using along with this laptop, sir?
No. The mobile phone and desktop I already logged
Actually,
out.
sir, when we use two devices, sir, simultaneously laptop
Yeah.
as well as mobile phone.
Yes.
This could
Now
be
I closed. Yeah, I closed that one. It's not there. Not there. Only in the tendency site. Yeah, also closed. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Echo is controlled. Okay, fine. Very good. Okay. It's already you told me the answer for the second question. Why money market generally, retail people like you and me don't prefer? Couple of reasons, right? Reason number one, generally it is a big ticket investment. What I mean by big ticket investment, you need to invest heavily upfront. For instance, if you wanted to invest in certain instruments in money market, the minimum investment is 5 lakhs. Certain, not all instruments, certain instruments in money market, if you want to invest, you need to make a minimum investment of 5 lakhs and multiples thereof. So therefore, money market is generally preferred by the big corporations. Some of you may be knowing that each big listed company, each and every big listed company, within their finance department, they have another department called treasury department. I don't know whether some of you must have heard this term called treasury department, not in government, not in Sarkar. This is the treasury department in each big company, in their corporate headquarters. In their finance section, there is a small division, or there's only 4 or 5 people will be working over there, called treasury division. So the treasury division people only will take a call, how much is the surplus cash for the company, where this money should be parked. So they will take all this call. So those are the guys who invest heavily in the money market instruments. Say for instance, for one particular company, next 5 days they don't have any requirement for 700 crores. So there is no merit of keeping that 700 crores in the current account. You all know that current account won't fetch a single paisa as interest. So there is no merit of keeping that 700 crores in the next 2 months in the current account. Instead, you can park that money in some instrument which is the most liquid instrument, and at the same time also safe, at the same time also easily convertible into cash, which should also fetch you some return. So if these are your characteristics, I wanted a most liquid asset, I wanted it should be converted easily into cash, I wanted some stable return from that, then generally people look at the money market instrument. So it could be a big corporate houses or a banks, anybody will look at the money market instruments. And generally people like you and me, like common investors, don't look at that. As I told you, it's a big ticket investment. Okay, so generally we don't look at that. Okay, when you come towards your left hand side of the screen, you could see something I've written called non-marketable financial asset. So this non-marketable financial asset is nothing but basically, what is that? Your bank FD. That's the most common sort of instrument, right? You go to a bank and invest some 10 lakh. 10 lakh, you make a deposit in the bank, he gives you one receipt. Now there is no need to go to bank and get all those stuff, right? These are again outdated, again thanks to technology, right? If you wanted to make an FD, what you can do today in today's context? You have some 10 lakh surplus with you and you wanted to make an FD. So earlier days we used to go to the branch, give a check to the branch manager, and the branch manager will print one hard copy of the fixed deposit certificate, in which he put a signature, stamp, and give it to you. So that will say your name, how much money you deposited, when it gets matured, what is the maturity amount, everything will be written in that piece of paper, a hard copy, right? Those days are gone today. In today, if you wanted to make a 10 lakh deposit in the bank, is it necessary for you to go to a bank to open a FD?
No, few of the banks are using.
You just need to log into the bank.
It can be easily done by a mobile phone.
No, not some of the banks. All the banks, invariably, all the banks, except the cooperative and other private banks. Most of the banks are offering you something called e-fixed deposit. As one of the participants said, that just log into your account and convert that money, whatever the surplus cash, into e-fixed deposit. That's it. That's the matter ends. Okay. But when you make such kind of instrument, even let's say you make a hard copy of the paper, the fixed deposit, or what we call term deposit, when you make that, but that paper cannot be sold out in the market because there is no exclusive market where you can go and buy and sell the bank FD. There is no secondary market. Sir, what do I do, sir, then? So if you have a bank FD, you need some money, probably what you can do, you go to the same bank, some of you must have experienced, you can go to the same bank, give that piece of paper to them, that bank FD to them, you can pledge it. Pledge it means you are giving it as a collateral, and against that, you can take up to 90% more. What is the advantage, sir? The only advantage is, suppose the market lending rate is supposed to be say 13%, whereas your bank FD rate is say 7%. When you pledge your own FD, you may get at 1.5% interest rate higher. which means I'm getting a 7% interest I'm getting. When I pledge my own money with the bank, I may be getting at the rate of 8.5%. Maybe the ongoing market rate may be 13%. Ongoing market rate may be 13% or 10.5%. I may get at a slightly lower rate. That is the only way out. That's the only way out. Or you can go to any private non-banking finance companies, or what we can call that as a NBFC, non-banking finance companies. We can go and pledge our bank FD receipt, and against which we can take even up to 95% also we can take a loan against that. But the only catch is when you go to any of the NBFC, they charge slightly higher rate of interest. But the point is, bank FD is definitely a financial asset, no doubt about that, but it is non-marketable. You can't, there is no market where which you can go and sell that piece of paper and get cash. Are you with me? Okay, fine. So bonds, obviously you all know very well, bonds could be multiple classifications. You have the government bonds, you have RBI bonds, you have the state government bonds, you have the public bonds, public company bonds, right? That's basically bond and debenture both are same, because the textbooks often confuse the student bond. Sometimes they use the word bond, sometimes they use the word debentures, but technically speaking there is no difference. Bond is nothing but an acknowledgement of debt. Bond is nothing but an acknowledgement. Any of you had a chance to look at the bond issued by a company or bond issued by Reserve Bank of India? Any of you had a chance to look at that? A bond issued by a company, or a bond issued by Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, or any state government? Have you had a chance to look at that? Next time you just to do a small search, don't do right now, you can do a search when you find free time. You can do, if you download a bond of a company or Reserve Bank of India or whatever state government bond, if you look at that, it will go like that. In that it will be written like that: I promise to pay you whatever the money, say 1,000 rupees after 1 year at the interest rate of 7%. Either I will pay the money to you or whomsoever the bearer of this instrument. It will be written like that, and signed by the Reserve Bank of India governor, which is RBI bond. With the state government bond, whomsoever is the authorized signatory, he will put a signature. The bond is basically, it says that I promise to pay this money. I promise to pay this money. So that is basically an acknowledgement of debt. That's called bond. In a simple, plain language, bond is nothing but an acknowledgement of debt. So an acknowledgement of debt, that will give you a detailed description. I, Saravanan, borrowed money from, say, Vikram Singh, 1,000 rupees. I promise to pay him interest at the rate of 8%, and this interest is payable semi-annually, and this principal is payable after 5 years. So like that, I write a detailed description and give the paper to him. So that's an acknowledgement. I borrowed 1,000 rupees from him, and I acknowledge him that, and I acknowledge him about that. And that's called bond. So bonds is nothing but an acknowledgement of debt. Okay. Next comes the mutual funds. We all know very well. People call mutual fund in today's context as SIP. You all know this. What is the expansion for this SIP? What is SIP stands for?
Systematic
investment plan.
Systematic investment plan, right? Most of you must have done. You informed your banker, okay, you take from every month from my bank account, from my salary account, you take 5,000 every month and go for SIP. So go for SIP means you tell him, okay, you invest 5,000, you take from my bank account, my salary account, and invest 1,000 in so and so mutual fund, invest in another 1,000 in so and so mutual fund. Like that, you tell him you would invest that 5,000 into 5 different mutual funds. So that's called as a systematic investment. Every month, irrespective of the fact whether the market hits 45,000 or 46,000 or 39,000, whatever the market hits, goes up or goes south or north, we go invest every month regularly a fixed sum. That's called systematic investment plan. So that's also a part of a mutual fund scheme. So here, what happened in mutual fund scheme, as most of you know, that since you have no time to invest in the stock market directly, okay, no time because you are totally busy in teaching, or some people may not have adequate amount of knowledge about the equity market. So what they do, they hire some professional. Not every one of us are hiring some professional. So the mutual fund companies, what they do, they collect small money from a large investor. They collect small money, 1,000 rupees per month, 500 rupees per month. Like that, they collect a small amount of money from larger group of investors and pool that money in the table and invest that money in the market. So who does all those things? So the mutual fund companies or mutual fund trustees, they come out with the mutual fund schemes, and these mutual fund schemes are invested into the market by a thorough professionals. So why these professionals are doing this job for you? Because they are getting paid. They get a fixed fat monthly check every month, and if the fund does well, they also get a fat bonus check. Okay, so therefore they do all these things because of on behalf of the investor. So that's what is basically how the mutual fund, the fund began that. Real estate, as already one of the participants already raised this point, I told the answer also that real estate is generally one of the least liquid asset. Generally, I'm saying that. Okay, and only one known rule in real estate is about location. That's the only rule on that. Okay, now let's come towards your right hand side. We already ticked about the equity shares, we ticked about the money market instruments, and third item on the right hand side is life insurance policies. Come on, how come life insurance policy is a asset? How come? Is really life insurance policy is an asset? I thought life insurance policy is more like a, risk coverage instrument. No, life insurance policy.
Sir, actually, in life insurance policy, there are many plans like term plans and endowment plans. So when we buy an endowment plan, then it become an asset because it also it give you a return also plus life coverage also. I think that
today the insurance is going to the equity market. So insurance
there is a ULIP plan, unit linked insurance plan.
No. Yeah, not today. You all know one important point. LIC is one of the biggest investor. I repeat, LIC is one of the biggest investor in equity market. If you read the LIC Act, LIC is a special entity, an insurance company. LIC is set up by an act of parliament. LIC is set up by an act of parliament because LIC have its own act, LIC Act. If you look at the LIC Act, of course, it keep on amended over a period of time. If you look at the LIC Act, the Act say, the acts or rules or regulations, whatever you look at in deep, it says that whatever the premium collected by LIC, I repeat, whatever the premium collected by LIC, they need to invest around 11% of the premium collected should be invested in equity market. That 11% is not a small number. That 11% is not a small number, it's a huge number. So how about the balance money, sir? Yes, the balance money, they are giving you guideline. Some money should be parked with the Government of India bonds, some percentage should be parked with the Reserve Bank of India bonds. Like that, there's it's being very spelled out very clearly. Where do you need to park the money? So in that regulation, they said that 11% of the total insurance premium collected, they're going to park in equity market. That 11% is not really a small number. That's a big number. It's a big number for big number. LIC is one of the biggest investor in stock market. Some of you may know that. Just now we talked about Reliance Industries. Can you make a guess? LIC is having a shares in Reliance Industries. Come on, why LIC should? Sir, what are you saying, sir? It looks funny to me. Because life insurance company means what is the objective of the company? LIC objective. Life insurance company objective is to cover the risk. Okay, I go and pay every year, or I pay a fixed sum. I pay some X amount as premium to cover my life for say 1 crore. I paid a fixed premium every month, or I pay a fixed annual premium I'm paying. So, sorry. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So they're supposed to cover my life, right? If anything happens, if any this happened to my life, they pay whomsoever is my legal heir, they will pay me the sum assured. But why are they going to stock market? What are they saying, sir? I mean, what you say seems to be not going well, right? Why life insurance company goes to stock market and invest? Life insurance company's objective is different, no? They collect premium from different policy holder, and if risk happens, they go and cover the risk, right? But why are they going and investing in stock market? Any idea?
They have a plan like ULIP plan in which they tell that some money would be invested in the stock market so that the investor can get a return. Plus, they will be giving a coverage also, but the coverage amount will be less. So that is the reason.
Very good. Okay. So now LIC have an exclusive policies which partly covers your life, which partly kind of investment in equity market, right? That's the reason. Fine. Okay. So otherwise also, if LIC collects lot of premium from all the policy holder and keep the money in the lock and key, dump all the money inside the locker and close it. And whenever there is a risk happen, whenever one particular policy holder demises, it open the locker and take the money and give it to him. Is it a good idea? Is it a good idea to keep all the policy money collected from the policy holders to keep it in a safety locker? To keep all the
no,
cash?
Sir, definitely not.
No. They have to get even some return. Otherwise, it is very difficult.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. Yeah. So it is absolutely not a very prudent idea to keep all your cash in the safety locker. So it should be invested somewhere. It should give us some return, right? So that's the context on which life insurance policies are also part of an investment avenue. As one of the participants said that we are talking about the ULIP. Okay. Now we have something called precious subjects. So when I say precious subjects, what's coming to your mind?
Rare paintings, sir.
Sir,
very good. Okay.
Paintings.
Antiques that we can invest in.
Very good.
Gold.
So Raja Ravivarma painting. So as one of the participants said that a painting, Raja Ravivarma painting, right? Some of you must have heard about this Raja Ravivarma painting. Have you heard about that one? Raja Ravivarma painting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I hope some of you may know about him. Raja Ravivarma was a very popular painter in the based out of Kerala, and his paintings are very well regarded in the antique market, right? Okay. Precious subjects, it includes not only painting, it also includes antique, it also includes any kind of gold, it also includes any kind of other items also, platinum, right? So all these items are, you can put all these items, antiques and other items you can bring under that category, right? So derivatives, there is no need to talk about that because you're already doing a last couple of days you're doing a detailed discussion on derivatives, right? Okay, fine. So let's quickly look at another interesting aspect. Is there any difference between investment and speculation, or both are same? Because there are a lot of myth in the minds of the investors or in the minds of the people. People say that you cannot make money in stock market generally. Okay, people say that stock market is a gambling. People say that your loss is somebody's gain and somebody's gain is your loss. These are a lot of myth in the minds of the investors, in the minds of the students, and generally there is an aversion against the stock market. Generally, I'm saying that generally there is an aversion in stock market, because when you give an option to a person who would like to invest your money in the equity market, in the bank FD, so most of the people will take the option bank FD. The reason being, it will be safe. Of course, it is safe to the tune of only 5 lakhs. I hope you all know that one, because they have a Deposit Credit Guarantee Corporation of India who gives guarantee for up to 5 lakhs of the money only being given as a insure. Okay, fine. Now, what are these myths? So when you teach this course to the students, I request you to break these myths in the minds of the young students. First and foremost point, stock market is not a gambling. First and foremost point is stock market is not a gambling. Okay, stock market is a place where it's a kind of an asset class where people can go and buy an asset and hold it for a reasonably a longer period of time and make money. So I'm in stock market from 1985 onwards. You can count the number of years. I'm in stock market from 1985 onwards. When the stock market was at 1,800, I entered into the market. And stock market was at 1,800. I hope most of you noted in the newspaper today. Market hit lifetime high 46,000. Okay, today again it's going up further. So I entered market at 1,800 when Sensex was 1,800. I entered into the market in the year 1985. Till today, I'm in the stock market. Till today, I'm in the stock market. I made tons and tons of money. I made in stock market. At the same time, I also lost tons and tons of money, because people will always claim, whenever they make money, they very proudly claim, yes, I made money in the stock market. People generally don't say, oh, I lost money in the stock market. Right? But I'm telling you both. I made tons and tons of money in the stock market from 1985 onwards till yesterday. I also lost money. I'm not saying that I make always gain, but what is ultimately, I need to look at that at the end of the year, in an average, what is my rate of return? That's what I need to look at that. So therefore, the concept of stock market means where you go, you lose all your money, is a big myth. If you go to stock market and if you invest, I'm not using the word if you play, if you invest your money in a very careful manner, you can make good significant amount of return. You can make significant amount of return. So I shared with my experience that I made tons and tons of money. I also lost tons and tons of money. So what is the merit, sir? You said you made money and you lost money. What is in it? Nothing. No. At the end, it is a zero-sum game. You are gaining, somebody else lost. Big no. I made tons of money. I lost tons and tons of money. At the end of the year, I calculate what is the net return after my brokerage, after my income tax. What is the net return I'm making? After my brokerage, after my income tax, I'm making a net return of 30%. I mean 30% tax bracket. So 30% after tax return you won't get in anywhere else. You don't get a 30% return in any other asset class. This I'm talking about the average return. I'm talking about the average rate of return. Okay, fine. Anyway, so to cut the story short, another myth in the market is it is like a gambling. Big no. stock market is not a gambling. It's a place where you have to invest your money in a systematic, scientific manner. But the scientific is not coming into many people's mind. And myth number 2, if you wanted to invest in stock market or if you wanted to buy in equity, you need really bag full of money. Myth number 2, big no. Why big no, sir? If you wanted to invest in stock market, do you really need a bag full of money? I'm leaving it to your choice. What is that bag full? It could be 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 100 lakh. I'm leaving it to your choice. Do you need really a bag full of money to buy a stock? To invest in stock market?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Then how much you need?
Start with as low as maybe 500 rupees, 1000 rupees also.
Yeah, very good answer. You can start with as low as even 100 rupees. Forget about 500. In today's context, there are many stock broking houses who are offering you at a very cheaper rate. I don't want to mention them. Most of you know about that. And many stock broking houses, you come and open our Demat account with us. First 1 year, no AMC. First 1 year, there is no DP charges or deposit department charges are free. For instance, SBI Capital will keep on sending you mail. Open Demat account with us. First 1 year free of charge. No AMC. They say that one. Right? And some of you might have heard about a company called Zerodha. Have you heard the name of the company called Zerodha?
Yes, sir. We have account.
Yeah, what is that? Yeah. So what is the specialty of them? Zerodha.
It charges maximum 20 rupees for transaction, and it's 0.005.
That is a discount broker.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
That is a discount broker.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. So they are the most innovative fintech company which was being set up in India in the last couple of years. Most innovative fintech company, because all other broking houses, they charge you each transaction, they charge you some fixed percentage. On top of that, they will charge you every year, they charge you some 400, 500, depending upon the broker with whom you have an account. They charge you something called AMC or the annual maintenance charge. But Zerodha came to the market saying that, as one of the participants said, that whatever the volume of the trade you can do, in single transaction you can do 10 crore worth of buy stock or 10 crore worth of sell stock order you can make, but we charge you only 20 rupees per transaction. They say that we will charge only 20 rupees per transaction. There is no AMC. There is no AMC, 20 rupees per transaction. So it's one of the most innovative company, right? So so why we talk about this one? Yeah, we talk about how much you need money to invest in stock market. So one of the participants said that as low as 500. Even you can invest as low as 100 rupees also. There are many stocks, good stocks available in the market at less than 100 rupees. You can buy the stock. You have to identify and buy those good stocks, right? Okay. So that myth that if you want to invest in stock market, you need tons and tons of money or bag full of money is a myth. Even with 500 rupees per month, you can invest. Even with 100 rupees per month, you can buy a stock. Only one stock. Can you buy only one share in any company? Or is there any restriction that you want to buy some market lot, minimum 100 shares, minimum 50 shares like that? Are there any market lot is there? Or even you can buy only one share also?
In derivative, there is restriction that you need to invest in lots.
Yeah, we are not talking about derivative. We are talking about the equity cash market. We are talking about the equity cash market. The equity cash
can buy even one share.
Everyone is free to invest.
Yeah, very good answer. Yeah, we can buy even only one share, provided that's only one condition. Provided that stock is available in the Demat form. Now, of course, now most of the stocks are available in Demat form only. But they put a condition: the stock is available in Demat form. You can buy even only one share also. You can buy. Okay, fine. That's right. So, so the second myth is you need tons and tons of money, bag full of money is a myth. Okay, we'll come to with the fourth myth. The fourth myth is one person's gain is another person's loss. This is the biggest myth ever. I can say that. How come you say that one person's gain is when people say that stock market is a zero-sum game, your gain is somebody else's loss? What is this? How come my gain is somebody else's loss? How come somebody else's loss is my gain? Have you ever thought about that? These kind of terms have you come across? Even media also write all these things. Even media people also write all these things in the newspaper. Stock market is a zero-sum game. One person's gain is another person's loss. Is it really true? Is it really true? Stock market is a zero-sum game. My gain is your loss is my gain. Is it correct?
No, sir.
In long term, no, sir.
Probably this derivatives, if we talk about to some extent, it is a zero-sum gain. But stock market, the usual equity investment, if we want to do, it need not be.
Why in derivative you say it's a zero-sum game? I take a position in the derivative market. If the things are in favor of me, I exercise that option. For instance, in the futures and options market, I hope you must be discussing in the last couple of days in the F&O segment, I get into an option contract. I strike that option only when the market price is in favor of me. If the market price is not in favor of me, what is the max that I could lose? Whatever the contract charges I entered, that is the maximum loss for me. Suppose if the price turns in favor of me, there is no limit towards upside. There is no upside limit. Depending upon the last week or fourth week of the contract, whatever the price it hits, that's all going to be my gain. Okay, so that is also not a zero-sum game, right? So generally there is a myth. Okay, I'll tell you simply, I'll explain it, then I will complicate later. I'll make it very simple. For instance, let us suppose that you all know very well in the pre-pandemic sessions, in the third week of March, what was the BSE Sensex numbers? Any rough guess? Third week of March.
It was around 32,000.
Even much lower. Around third week of March, around 18,000. Okay, around 18,000. So it jumped like anything. Right? So I entered when the market is a lifetime low. Let us imagine when the market is when the last 52-week low. Let us say that many stocks are available by the time the last 52 weeks low were somewhere around the third week of March. Okay, third week of March I bought. I am selling it yesterday, or I am selling it today. Today market is a lifetime high, 46,000. Today market is lifetime high. I am selling it for the rate of 46,000. I am selling it at a lifetime high. So do you think that is it my loss? Big no. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's not my loss. Okay, now market is at 46,000 lifetime high. Why are you buying that particular share from me? Say, for instance, today you bought Reliance from me at the rate of say 2,002 rupees or something like that. So why market is lifetime high? That maybe that stock price is not lifetime high. The lifetime high went to 2,400. For instance, let's assume that that's 2,000 is the lifetime high. You are buying at 2,000 because you have a perception, you have the view that this stock price will go further up. That's why you are buying it from me at the rate of 2,000. Are you getting? It is not your loss. You anticipate the stock price will go up further. So this is the biggest myth in the stock market, I can say. You talk to any common people or even educated people, they say, no, stock market, don't go there. It's very gamble. They say that it's a gambling. And they say that your gain is somebody else's loss. Don't go there. It's a zero-sum game. Biggest myth. I got Reliance at the rate of 900 on the third week of March. I bought a significant number of shares. On the third week of March, I bought significant number of shares at around 900 average price, 900, 890, 900. I bought. So I booked all my shares. I sold my shares at the lifetime price of lifetime high price of Reliance at the rate of 2,400. I sold all my shares. So which means somebody is buying from me at the rate of 2,400, which means he have a perception that this stock is worth more than 2,400. That's why he is buying. His calculations are different. Are you getting my point? So therefore, these are some of the myths you should break. Those kind of myths. Of course, there is the differences between investment and these things you please tell the students in the class, because they are the next generation. They are going to invest heavily in the equity market. They are going to be the participant in the equity market. You tell them very crystal clearly, this is a very scientific way of investing. If you are too greedy, people generally, when we go to party and all, the moment when they know that, you are teaching investment science course in your college, they will ask you a very common question. Sir, I wanted to you tell me, sir, the general question what I get is, sir, can you recommend some stocks for us? Okay. Generally, as Sabari Rajan told at the beginning, I write in all newspapers, but I never ever write about the stock recommendation. No stock reco. Okay. No stock reco will be given by me, because you can't recommend a stock to a person. Because as already one of the participant, I think I forgot his name, he used the word called the risk appetite or the risk profile. He used the word the risk profile or risk appetite or risk tolerance. According to risk tolerance only you can pick up a share. I can't comment, okay, you go and buy Asian Paint. I can't comment, you can go and buy ACC company. I can't recommend you any stock. I need to look at what's your risk profile. Okay. So therefore, people who come to the market, there are a lot of people who come to the market, right, with the idea that I wanted to make my money into 10 times bigger. Okay. So that's very crude. That's called speculation. That's very crude. That's called speculation, right? So, if you have in no scientific way, you anticipate this is going to happen and you wanted to make a huge gain, that's called speculation. But generally we don't talk about speculation, we talk only about the investment. Okay. we are coming towards the end of the part. So the approaches towards investment decision making in the context is there are two approaches. So this approach is the most sought after, most widely practiced. Why sir you give so much stress for this approach? This approach is nothing but called fundamental approach. People call this as a top-down approach. People call this as a economy, industry, and company approach. So any idea? I think some of you must be teaching this course. What is this concept called fundamental analysis or the fundamental approach?
Yes, sir.
Sir, we study about the economy as an Indian economy, and then we see which sector it is working better. Then in that sector, we find the best companies to invest. Basic fundamentals of the company. That's a fundamental approach.
Okay, one after very good.
Basic industry analysis, economic, and fundamental financial analysis.
Question to you. Why do you restrict only? Okay, very good, very good. Now, the first, I could not see the first participant name here. When Indian, why only to Indian economy? Okay, okay. I will open this question to everyone. I will ask a different question. By sitting in your own hometown, whatever is your own hometown, Chennai, Coimbatore, wherever you are sitting there, from your own hometown, from your own place where you are sitting right now, can you buy the shares of Facebook? Can you buy the shares of Zoom, the app on which most of us are having a meeting in today's context, not this meeting. Often we have a meeting on this Zoom app. Can you buy the shares of Zoom? Can you buy the shares of Facebook, right? In today, every one of us have account in Facebook, right? So can you buy the shares of Facebook, or can you buy the shares of even Amazon? Because of this, during this pandemic, nobody goes out and no shops are being kept open. We place order for everything only online. We place order for everything only online because we are scared to go to shops, right? Of course, now things are a little free. Otherwise, we buy most of the things through online only, right? So can you buy the shares of Amazon company, or can you buy the shares of Facebook, or can you buy the shares of Zoom by sitting in your own hometown right now, assuming that you have adequate money?
Actually,
if we have the demat,
they are not listed in the NSE and BSE, and we don't have an access.
Yeah, that's what precisely my question. Which means by sitting in India, can't you buy the shares of these things? By sitting in India, can you invest your money in any stocks which is listed in some other country? That's my question. Because one participant said that when you look at the Indian economy, I wanted to break that myth again.
If we have an NRI and NRE account, then I think we can buy it out. But I am not sure on that.
Okay, everyone please pay attention. This is the another myth. By simply holding your regular demat account, you can invest your money globally. Okay, but there is a separate agreement you have to enter with your stockbroker. What I mean by that? Thanks goes to all our former finance minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram. He had given permission for each individual, as per Income Tax Act, each individual resident Indian, you and me can invest up to 2 lakh US dollar. I repeat, you and me can invest up to 2 lakh US dollar in every finance year. In each finance year, we can invest up to maximum 2 lakh US dollar. We can invest on buying the shares of stocks which are listed in outside the market. Meaning which, if you have a demat account, if our broking house provides such facility, definitely you and me, by sitting in our own home, we can buy the shares of Facebook, we can buy the shares of Amazon, even we can buy the shares of Zoom or Reebok or Coca-Cola. What are the companies that you think it's good? IBM, right? Apple. These are the emerging companies you think. You can buy the shares of those companies. Maximum 2 lakhs. Okay. So don't have that preconceived idea. Industrial analysis means I need to do industrial analysis only for India. We can invest globally, right? We can invest globally. If you have, you can buy only 1 share of Apple. Nobody is stopping you. No, you should buy minimum 10 shares. No, you can buy only 1 share of Apple. You can buy only 1 share of Amazon. You can buy only 1 share of Facebook. Every month you buy one share. You think of next 10 years how many shares you accumulate. Think about like that. Okay. So anyway, so don't restrict yourself only to the Indian economy. You can open globally. You can see. Let us imagine for a minute you are not an individual. You are a mutual fund manager. If you are a mutual fund manager, generally, I'm saying generally, there is no restriction with reference to the economy. So only say 2,500 crores are given to you. You can go to anywhere in the world and give us a good return. That's all. That's the mandate given to you. So what you do, you don't restrict. Though you may be an Indian mutual fund company, you need not necessarily invest in Indian market. You browse through the entire global market. You browse through the entire, okay, which country is doing well? You browse through the entire global market and freeze that particular country or freeze that particular economy. I don't know how many of you know, most of you know about a country, most of you know about Australia, right? Australia is the only country, you can check it later. Australia is the only country which is not affected, which is not affected by any recession. Any recession is affected now. No recession in Australia for last 35 years. I repeat. No recession in Australia for last 35 years. So today, among the investment community, Australian economy is called as a recession-proof economy. I mean, what is the reason? It's a different question. Why Australia is not by the recession, that's a different reason. But today, that's one of the most sought after country. Most of the analysts would like to go and look at why that country is not affected by any of the recession. Whereas in the rest of the market, US that, but Australian market is a recession-proof market for last 35 years, right? Okay. Anyway, to cut the story short, this is one of the basic approach, or what you can call this as a fundamental approach. We look at the economy, as two another participants said that we need to look at the industry, we look at the company, and we do a thorough financial statement analysis. We do a forecasting. Based upon the forecasting, we arrive at something called as an intrinsic value, and based upon the intrinsic value, we'll buy a particular stock. That's one very popular approach. Then comes the second broad approach called technical approach. This is just ulta. This is just the opposite of fundamental. Anybody who knows about technical approach or the technical analysis?
Sir, we study the charts and graph for day-to-day price hike and price low, and then figure out what could be the trend.
Yeah.
Example, candlestick chart,
very good
line chart.
Yeah.
And a bar theory.
So basically, yeah. Yes. Okay. Very good. So in technical approach, they say that I don't care what your company is making. Okay, they say that I will look at only the bars, only the charts, which means why they focus more. They don't even look at the financial statements of the company. They don't even know what the company is manufacturing, because according to them, everything is getting reflected in the price. Everything is getting reflected in the price. So if it's a real live data, right? Yesterday, whatever is the price happened, based upon that I draw a chart. Okay, from that I can okay from here, yeah. From here, the prices most likely go towards northwards, or most likely go towards southwards. Like that, they drop. Okay, so most of you know that in today's context in US, we have a very popular stock market index called Dow Jones, right? Most of you know about that, right? Dow Jones Index. Have you heard about that one? Dow Jones Index.
Yes, sir. Dow theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dow Jones Index, right? So the father of technical analysis is called one Mr. Charles Dow. Okay, he was the editor of the Wall Street Journal of Finance. We all know about Wall Street Journal of Finance, right? So he was the founder of what we are calling today as a technical analysis. His name is Charles Dow. On his basis, there's a theory is also there called Dow theory, right? Anyway, so this is the totally ulta approach. They don't care which economy is recession-proof, which economy is good, bad, beautiful, ugly. They don't even care. They look at only the stock price, as one of the participants said, that Japanese candlestick, like that. There are many tools, charts, bars. They look at all those things, and then they can take a part. That's the second approach, what's called as a technical approach. The third approach, okay, before going to the third approach, just to take 2 more minutes and then wind up. In the fundamental approach, who is advocating fundamental approach? Why a large number of people are approaching fundamental approach? Of course, that also depending upon the, the lobby, we can say. Most of you know about a very popular institute in Western market called CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, not Indian. It's a CFA based out of USA. The Chartered Financial Analyst is the biggest lobby in the world who advocate for fundamental analysis. Why? They are a biggest lobby. Some of you may know about the CFA exam and all those things. I strongly encourage you to your own students also. You encourage them to write the CFA examination, because if they clear the CFA examination, there is a very good scope is there in investment banking and other domains, right? You should encourage them also. So why this particular institute or CFA institute is the biggest lobby in the US for the in the entire world for the fundamental approach? Because a large number of CFA practitioners are there. Okay, so that's why fundamental analysis is very popular comparing to technical. If we come to technical approach, there is another one big body is there, but not very big lobbying body. It's called the CMT, Chartered Market Technician. We can make a note of that one. You can do a little Google on that later, and you can strongly encourage your students also to write for CMT also. Because CFA and CMT are two different areas. CFA is purely fundamental and CMT is purely technical. Both are two different domains. And one, if you get expertise on any of these domains, either it could be a CFA certificate or CMT certificate, you're getting a job for the student is very easy. Again, coming back to the last aspect, the psychological approach. This is what we call, in today's context, we have a separate branch of science called, within investment science, we have a branch of science called behavioral finance. I hope most of you know the term called behavioral finance, right? Because investing in the stock market, there are a lot of literature is there which says that, especially one of the latest papers which was written in Canadian context, which say that markets are 90% psychological and 10% logical. What is this? 90% psychological and 10% logical? Why psychology is coming into picture? Why psychology is coming into investment? Psychology is something related to OB, right? A behavior of a person. How come that is coming into stock market? Yes?
Because if the emotions of the investor, mood of the investor, rather than the real reason of the investment.
Okay,
Investor psychology. It's not possible that every investor is doing fundamental or technical analysis. At time they are investing just because of their own behavior, their own mood.
Very good answer. Okay, their own behavior. I mean, I told you that's a very interesting paper. It was written in Canadian context. So they did an interview to 90% of the people. 90% of the people do their first trade based upon various, very odd kind of reason. They say, sir, I got SMS today morning, sir, from my broker. I got SMS from my broker. You buy SBI cap, buy SBI cards or some other company. I got SMS from my broker, so I am buying it. When they ask another person, why are you buying? What is your first trade today? Why you bought it? Yesterday I was sleeping. I got a dream that a big iron and steel company I was seeing in my dream. So I bought a Tata Steel company, or I bought Jindal Steel company. Okay. So like that, people have all kind of odd reasons. You can't even imagine. You can't even imagine. You can read the paper, interesting paper. People have a lot of reason why they made how they made the first trade. First trade is purely, no logic behind that. It's all psychology. Okay, market is 46,000. Okay, I read somewhere yesterday in Economic Times, market is going to hit before March 31st, 2021, is going to hit 50,000. Okay, I wanted to participate in the rally. Okay, there's the called fear of missing the bus, FOBB, fear of missing the bus. So I don't want to miss the bus. Market is rallying. Yeah, already someone said that it rallied from third week of March to last week of December. It is going up to so much high. So I want to participate in this rally. People say that it will go to 50,000. I will also join. So I don't want to miss the bus. Fear of missing the bus, right? So that's psychology. So most of the 90% of the investment is psychology. Only 10% is logical. So that's a different approach. Okay. So with this we'll stop because I already overshot the time to cover up whatever I lagged at the initial, and maybe in the next couple of minutes we will reserve it for any queries from your side. So these are broadly three approaches towards market.
Sir, I have a small question.
I have a query.
Yeah, please raise all your queries.
Sir, for example, we get in all of the information about the equity market in NSE.com. So is there any website or is there any site where we can get in detail of bonds, maturity, and what is the price they are giving?
In the NSE itself, we have a bond market. In the NSE itself, we have a bond market. In the NSE itself, what I've shown you is the equity market. You go to the home page and there's a separate icon for bond market. You click that. What I've shown you is on the equity page. In the same NSEindia.com, you go there. There's a separate, in the home page, there's an icon for bond. You click on the bond, you will get all the data about the bond.
Okay. Then, and one more last question.
You will get tick price you will get. Yeah.
Okay. So one more last question is that, sir, we are mostly talking about the traditional financial instrument over there. But nowadays there is a lot of people is talking about alternative finance kind of a thing, like private equity. These kind of instruments are also coming in the market, and the different investors are different. Yes. Different investors are seeing that also for their portfolio. So can I get in literature, because I want to do research on that topic, but I'm not finding in literature on these topics because these are new new areas of alternative finance. So can you suggest on that? Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a good attempt. See, the private equity investment is a new domain, but normally why not much info is available, because these are all privately held information, right? So I wanted to invest my money. Suppose this is how it happens, right? So there are some 20 of my friends, NRI friends, are there living outside, and they keep on calling me. Suddenly we have some lot of money with me. Can you invest this money on behalf of us? Something like that. So I said, okay, I will do it for a fee of fee of X percentage. So I collect money from my friends. Say 200 lakhs. I imagine. I don't have. Just imagine. I got 200 lakhs with me. So I'm looking for investment in startup. I don't look at in the traditional company. I don't want to invest in cement or steel or IT company. I don't want to invest, because these are all supposed to be already old economy stock. I don't want to go there. I wanted a bigger return, much bigger return. I'm looking for that. So what do? I look for some startup. I got somebody a very innovative idea, but that guy is lacking fund. So I go and pump my money over there. This we call as a private equity investment. So I may be going and buying some shares of that innovative company. In return, all my shareholders of all my NRI friends or whomsoever pumping the money through me to India. So they're also getting the return. So this is all very privately held information, which is not available in the public space. Most of this private equity investment informations are not generally available in the public space. However, if you go to IIT Madras Department of Management Studies, one of my friend, Professor Thillai Rajan, you can look at his profile in the web page. He is doing some activity related to the PE investment. Okay, you look at his profile, and he is looking at some exclusively in India. Exclusively in India, what are the private equity activities are there? He created a database also, something like that. Just look at that, you will get all the information related to the Indian context. You get. However, it's mostly it's all privately held information.
So, thank you very much.
Okay, is it clear?
Yes,
okay.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your presentation. Participant, do you have any queries? You can ask. Otherwise, we'll wind up the session. Sir, thank you. Thank you for accepting my invitation and delivered the new session in the batch 1 and batch 2. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, please share.
Thank you all. Yeah, I will share it with you. Participants, if you have any